Turning now to another tragic story of a surgery gone very wrong. 13-year-old Jahai McMath is on a ventilator, brain dead after a complication from tonsil surgery last month. On Friday in California, her family and the hospital came to an agreement on moving her to a different facility. But details of her transfer, including where the new facility is, have not been revealed. So this tragedy has turned into a very complex ethical battle. The hospital says brain death is death. The coroner issued a death certificate on Friday, but the child's family says she's alive and they're hoping for a miracle. I'm joined now by attorneys Mo Ivory, host of the Mo Ivory Show, and Tanya Miller, a defense attorney and former prosecutor. Good to see both of you.
Good to be here.
Oh my gosh, this is, just heartbreaking for anyone who is learning about these cases. So Mo, doesn't it seem like there's a real mixed message here? If there's a death certificate, if the medical community says she is brain dead, which is tantamount to being dead, then why would another facility agree to a transfer? Because that says there's hope that maybe she's not dead.
Sure, and Tanya and I both have teenage daughters, and we were talking about how sad and tragic this case is, but really, where's the public policy in this and sort of the medical embracing of a true definition of death? Is brain dead, or is the loss of circulation versus the brain activity? Where is the bottom line? I think that's where the problem is. And then the question becomes, who has the right to say when she's dead if a family wants to continue to have hope? I think in my opinion, the fact that the family wants to pay for the expenses of moving her to a facility, of continuing trying to keep her alive, I think they should be allowed to, because that should be their decision whether they want to keep her alive. But it doesn't negate the fact that there's confusion in the arena, in the medical arena, about what truly is the definition of death as it relates also to a court battle.
Well, I wonder, Tanya, is there confusion within the medical community, or is there confusion of the general public trying to understand, interpret what the medical community is saying?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think most medical professionals will agree that brain dead, the kind of dead that Jahai is, according to these doctors, is dead, medically speaking. There are ethicists and other people who weigh in on this debate and say, well, listen, there might be other functions that are reasonable. The parents have, they should have the ultimate say-so in whether or not to cease any kind of aid to their child. So ultimately, it's whether a person is medically dead versus whether or not the family is really ready to let go of hope, and whether they're really ready to stop all life-saving and supporting efforts.
And in the meantime, does this have all the hallmarks, the markings of a wrongful death suit, some sort of malpractice?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I mean, she brought her daughter in for a routine procedure. She had her tonsils removed. There is no reason why her daughter should be brain dead at this point, so I suspect that there will definitely be a wrongful death action.
Okay, let's move on to another case. This one involves a man who pleaded guilty to slapping a toddler on an airplane and then using a racial slur. He's scheduled to be sentenced tomorrow. Joe Ricky Hundley is expected to get 6 months in prison as part of a plea deal, but there's more to the story than meets the eye. Hundley's attorney said that he was in serious duress, flying to see his own son, who was in a coma, and to take him actually off life support, and that might have helped spark this reaction that he had to slap another person's child. So, Mo, Tanya, let's look at this again. 6 months in prison. Tanya, is this a reasonable explanation, or is this an issue, or a question of does the punishment fit the crime?
Honestly, I'm probably not the best person to ask. I personally find his actions to be reprehensible. I mean, he hauls off and slaps a crying baby and then calls the baby the N-word. I think it was completely inappropriate. It was mean-spirited. It was evil. And I don't think the fact that he was personally going through some things should justify that behavior. I think the sentence is appropriate, to be frank.
Plea deal gets him 6 months?
Sure. I think the sentence was appropriate. I think when your son is dying, and his son, in fact, died the next day, that you are completely out of your sorts. Whether truthfully out of your sorts or not, because probably that slur was something he meant deep down inside, but I don't think that he would have done that probably in any situation but being under such duress. So I do think that the 6 months is appropriate for the crime, but I think he also should have to pay something. Some damages to the mother for the, duress that she went through with her child, and I'm not sure if that happened in the settlement. It may have, but I do think the 6 months is fine.